Well, welcome to our fourth video in the series of strategies for online discussion forums. The previous videos covered issues related to designing discussion activities and strategies for moderating and providing feedback to students. In this final video, we'll discuss how to assess student discussion posts. So the first thing that you need to decide is whether you want to grade student discussions or not. But you should remember a truism, and that is that students value what's assessed. If you want good work, or if you want high participation, or if the assignment that you're assigning is high stakes, then you should grade it. Much of the writing that happens in student discussion forums, however, is what we consider low stakes, and those would be things like reflections, the processing of material, or reading prompts, things like that. And they may not have to be graded. The way that you would grade, let's say, a paper or other kinds of higher stakes student writing. For example, you may be able to wrap that kind of student writing into a participation grade. For example, maybe 5 or 10% of your course is devoted to participation. You might require that students complete those in order to receive those participation points. And that way, students are being held accountable for completing the work, but you're not having to spend a lot of time grading what really are low stakes and student-directed kinds of writing. For higher stakes work, though, you should consider grading them more carefully. And one of the ways that you can achieve efficiency is through the use of rubrics. For writing that is higher stakes, you may consider using a standard rubric, the kind that you might think of for papers or reports. And those would focus on things like students' critical thinking ability, their use of sources, the organization of material, their writing, etc. But for lower stakes kinds of student discussion activities, we recommend that you keep it simple. You may use a rubric, and it's a good idea. It can speed up your work, but keep it, like I said, keep it simple. Use perhaps a 3-point scale where students either get a 0 for not completing it or completely missing the boat. They get a 1 for completing the assignment, and maybe a 2 for exceeding expectations on the particular assignment. You can also grade students on completed or not completed for these particular posts as well. One thing to keep in mind is that Canvas has will allow you to attach a rubric to various assignments, and you can use a Canvas feature called Speed Grader to provide directed feedback on that rubric to students, and that can really speed up your grading of student discussion posts. So now I'm going to pass it over to Paul to talk about different strategies for assessing students' discussions.
Thanks, Bill. So you've now perhaps decided that you're going to use a rubric, and it's reduced the time that it takes for you to grade your discussion post. But it still takes time because you have to read the post, you have to, or scan the post, and then you still have to assign a grade. And if you do comment, all of that takes time. And if you have even a medium-sized class and you're grading every week, that's a lot of time. And it's one of the reasons why people shy away from assigning discussion forums. So one of the efficiencies that you can take is to sample posts rather than grading every post. And the key here is to have a method to make sure that you are sampling students in a regular way. So let's see how that would work. Let's imagine that you read a third of the class's posts in the first week, another third in the second, and a third in the third week. So you're reducing the number of posts that you're looking at and assigning grades to by 2/3. Or you could do this every 4 weeks and reduce the time by 3/4. So the key here is to have a plan, have a method by which you're selecting which students you're going to grade every week to make sure that you regularly rotate through the students so that every 3 weeks some student gets, the student is graded. Now, it could be that you grade a student in the first week and then the fourth week. That would make sense if you're using the same pattern and simply repeating that. or potentially you want to shake it up a little bit and change how you do the second set of 3 weeks from how you did the first set. But you get the idea. The idea is to have a plan for reducing the number of posts that you're doing. I would also suggest that you allow students to drop at least one of those posts, because those posts sometimes happen on a week that is not optimal for the student. We all have our suboptimal weeks, and so do students. And this will just generate a lot of goodwill by allowing them to have some kind of safety valve for if they mess up one time. Another way that you can reduce the number of posts that you're looking at is to allow the students themselves to select which posts they want graded. So depending upon your teaching philosophy, you may choose this method, particularly if you want students to elevate their best work. Now, the predicate for this, of course, is any written assignment. Let's imagine that you assigned a paper. The assignment would come potentially toward the end of the semester, and they would show you their best work, right? This is very similar to that. The way that you would enact this is to have students compose all of their posts first into a document, say a Google Doc, and then cut and paste those into the forum week by week as they're due. And of course, every time they respond to another student, they would cut and paste from the document or from the forum into the document, so that by the end of the semester, they have a document that records all of their writing. Then toward the end of the semester, say the 12th week or whatever, you have them select their best 3 or 4 posts for your grading. So it shifts all of the grading toward the end of the term for you. Any other commenting that you want to do during the semester would be completely optional, or you'd want to have a plan for that. But it allows the student to showcase their best work. It puts them back into the driver's seat again. And I think students really appreciate having that. So having a plan for how you select posts, how you use a rubric, and how you are going to assess in general a forum is really critical. It will allow you to be methodic in what you do, be fair in what you do, and to reduce the amount of work for you, and to increase the importance of the forum in the students' eyes.